Welcome to Exchange Rates UK TV. It is the 15th of January 2020, February, not January, 2022. Taking a look at Tezos here, multiple time frame, Ichimoku analysis. Not much to look at here on the 3-week chart because, it's just, most cryptos, altcoins that is, they don't have a lot of data and certainly not enough history to have a complete Ichimoku suite of indicators on it. But that doesn't mean there's nothing to be generated from this. So Tezos, it is below the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen on the 3-week chart. But what I do want to point out is the gap between the current and the last two 3-week candlesticks. There's some pretty good gaps, especially from the last 3-week candlestick. One of the peculiar behaviors in the Ichimoku system with the Tenkan-sen is that it doesn't really tolerate long periods of time between large gaps of bodies between itself and, how do I say that? There's not a lot of time between gaps between the bodies of candlesticks and the Tenkan-sen. Oh my gosh, I'm making this sound a lot more complicated than it needs to be. Anyways, it usually corrects within, at most, 4 to 5 periods, but generally sooner. So we're probably looking at a beginning of that kind of move where we see it return to equilibrium on the 3-week chart. And when we look at the weekly, it doesn't seem like that's the case. The weekly looks like it's positioning for continued downside pressure. But as long as it remains above, actually, the Chiku span is what you want to watch. As long as it doesn't drop below the bodies of these candlesticks, so as long as we don't have a weekly chart, or weekly candlestick close below 370-ish or so, we should stave off a lot of continued selling pressure, because if that does occur, then you have an ideal bearish Ichimoku breakout. And the last time there was an ideal bearish Ichimoku breakout on the weekly chart was... Technically, there was one back on the week of July 12th, 2021, but that was already at a major low. But if that occurs, you could see, some further downside pressure, sure. But otherwise, if it can, ideally, it would get back above Senkou Span A in the and get inside the cloud rather. That would be ideal, or at least closing above the Tenkan-sen on the weekly chart would be a good thing as well too. But oscillators do support some higher moves here, so nothing crazy to go off of on here that would say the end is nigh. The daily chart, though, is the one that kind of shows where that continuation move higher exists. So, and this is something that's a pattern that exists across a lot of altcoins, and because Ethereum has the most dominant, it's likely to be on a lot of altcoin charts. But that is the inverse head and shoulders pattern that's in here, and that is right here. Bam, 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 bam. So this pattern is quite all over the place. And the thing that's important to recognize with Tezos' chart is that the neckline break of that inverse head and shoulders pattern lines up, pretty much with the same value area that it needs to get to on the daily chart to achieve an ideal bullish Ichimoku breakout. And that would occur today. That would have to be at 470-ish, but by the 16th and the 17th, Wednesday and Thursday, that threshold drops down to like 450-ish. So if you get a daily close around 450 or higher, that is an ideal bullish Ichimoku breakout. That is the exact kind of setup you want to see for an instrument to really kind of begin a new uptrend and an expansive move higher. And that the Chiku span here is above the bodies of the candlesticks and in open space. That just makes reaching that kind of breakout in the Ichimoku system a whole lot easier, because you don't have to wait for it. It's already in open space. It already is showing that there's going to be a lot more easier movement higher. So that's something to watch out for and pay attention to. But other than that, downside risks should be limited to the 350 zone. But below that, you could see it retest the 2022 lows near that $2.50 range. But I'll update it as needed. Thank you all for watching. For more Exchange Rates UK TV, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.